It's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. Critics' Choice. With me, as always, the People's Champ, Tim Cack.
If you feel it, chase it, baby. What up, that Bears?
What up, that Bears? And today, we're talking about The Punisher: One Last Kill, the new Marvel Studios special presentation that made its way to Disney Plus last week. Tim, what'd you think about this one?
More like one last tease, because this was underwhelming. I thought this was a little bit of the, as we often quote, surfing Dracula.
Surf Dracula, yeah.
Where I don't know how many more times I need to see a show where the character that we know is a superhero, who has been a superhero and is still a superhero, has to put the costume back on. I don't need it. I feel like we've gotten that a lot. I feel like that's kind of Daredevil's whole thing. I think that happens with everybody. And they tried to make this thing happen with the Punisher. I don't really think this works on its own as like a great narrative. And in the context of the Punisher, I'm not sure it's necessary. And I don't remember what was going on with the Punisher before this, but I don't think I don't understand how it started off that way. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? Where were you on this?
I 100% agree. I love Jon Bernthal as the Punisher. Generally speaking, fan of Jon Bernthal. I like what this guy does. It pains me a little bit because I know he wrote this. He came up with the story for this and co-wrote this. And I know he was probably trying to do look, as the actor, he probably had goals as an actor that he wanted to accomplish inside of this that inform why this is structured the way that it is. But I'm right there with you. We've seen a lot of variations on this in superhero media. And when the action is this good, and when his capability as this character is as high as it is, we just want to see Surf Dracula surfing. I had the thought when the fight scene started in the apartment complex that we could have started here. There was an awful lot of build up to that moment. We could have even started in media res, but really the whole thing could have been in motion as a giant fight scene. And I think it would have been really cool.
I agree. I think, I think it's a problem with actors trying to write stuff like this because they're thinking about it of what do I want to act? Mm-hmm. And it seems like what really resonates with him is being a soldier, having PTSD, dealing with all this trauma from his past. Mm-hmm. And so we get these scenes of him in the apartment talking to himself and seeing other people. And I think he is good in those scenes, but I am still asking, why are we seeing these? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Why is the first half hour of this him talking to people that aren't there and doing all this weird backstory stuff, when I just feel like that's the kind of thing that should be interspersed within the action, right?
Dude,
this is one of my biggest beefs is the first half of this. He's seeing people. And then once we go into the fight scene, it's all real.
I was going to pitch you the same. Can you imagine how much more fun those exchanges with his old comrades would have been if he's in the middle of this fight scene, he's got a guy pinned to the ground and the guy is struggling to escape. And then Frank hallucinates one of his friends and he's talking with him and having a serious moment while the guy is trying to escape and Frank is still holding him there.
Yeah. The bad guy's who are you talking to? Well, he's talking to somebody else. Yeah. What if just he saves a woman and it looks like his wife?
Sure.
What if he sees a kid and it looks like his daughter? What if there's what if he just sees a series of people that are just his family and a series of his enemies doing this thing? I don't understand how he Karen Page is there. He thinks Karen Page is real and in the room with him, but as soon as the action starts, that's all gone. What are you talking about? That seems wild to me. And these kinds of seeing things, it would make the fighting way more interesting. I like him fighting out of the apartment complex, a la The Raid. It's awesome. It's very, very cool. I don't see why he can't roll into a room, bandage himself up and talk to Karen Page.
Yes.
And then roll out. That to me would make more sense and have more momentum than just him 15 minutes up top with this thing. I think if this was a Marvel movie or if this was another action movie, we would get some action up top to show why we're there, right? Like something to get us going. And we don't. We just go right into like this thing that's just very uninteresting, and it's weird.
I think their idea of the action they're giving us up top, though, is the city in total chaos, which I wanted to run past you. How you felt about this idea that New York City is only being held together by its organized crime, and that if one of the organized crime families goes down, suddenly like a 3-block radius in Williamsburg turns into this post-apocalyptic wasteland. This looks like one crime family went down, and it looks like the book from Evil Dead got opened and like hell was unleashed on Earth. It's crazy how bad shit gets. We were watching it, and Lauren came out, and she actually thought I was watching the movie Beau is Afraid at first, because Beau is Afraid starts off with like him having basically like a panic hallucination about an unsafe neighborhood.
Yeah, there were things where he's walking through the neighborhood and he's hearing gunshots, and I'm like, are these all happening in the neighborhood? And then it's like a flashback to like he's hearing these gunshots from when he was in war or whatever. But yeah, in the background, people are walking by. I don't know, maybe my privilege is speaking. I've never grown up in a bad neighborhood, but I find it hard to believe that at all hours of the day, multiple active crimes are happening on the street constantly.
Yeah, this
like
isn't a bad
everyone on the street is getting robbed. It's like not a bad neighborhood. It's a war zone. It is.
Yeah, this is biblical hell.
But also, like, you'd think this would have happened for a day and then it dies down again, right? Like you can't constantly have multiple blocks where people are getting mugged and beaten up and robbed, because you're going to run out of those people.
Yeah. And also the people who are staying there, like the guy who owns the little bakery on the corner. It's bizarre that in this degree of hell, you still have some people who are like, what are you going to do? Got to open up the shop. It's like, no, this degree of pandemonium that's happening in this block is like, you shutter the doors. People shutter the doors for a lot less. And like, open it up. And it's like, yeah, people are open for business. Sure, there's 3 guys getting like beaten to death outside, but I got to sell croissants.
See, that's the thing I was curious about, is because the kind of the initial statement of this, which like, again, I think you could just go right into like Frank just like living in this apartment, talks to himself for a bit, sees things, goes outside, sees things, talks to his war buddies, introduces himself, meets this guy, helps him out with the homeless guy or whatever. And then as he's walking back, we see Ma, and she's there and she gives him the mission. And like, I feel like we could get into that in 10 minutes.
Yes.
You know,
way faster.
And that would have been great. And then she issues the thing. I don't even think you'd need 10, but I think they'd be able to do everything they did up top in 10 minutes, and it would be tighter and it'd be more convincing. Because once Ma issues this, you know, what is it? Like puts a bounty on his head, and the like world goes to shit.
7 p.m. or something.
It's not like the diner guy or the bodega guy knows that this hit has gone out.
Right.
Like, it's not announced anywhere. So it does seem like he's got the store open and this is just happening all of a sudden. But also, if all of those people are there strictly for the bounty, why are they robbing this bodega? Why aren't they all just trying to kill the Punisher?
Yes. And the reason all these people know about this bounty is because she said that all these people have done work for them in the past.
Yes.
And if all those people have done work for them in the past, for the crime family, and the matriarch of the crime family is still alive, sure sounds like there's still a crime family. Sure sounds like this is still just the gang.
Sounds like it's still good to go. Everything's still rolling as is. It sounds like they haven't broken stride there.
No. They clearly have dominion over this area. Like, and why would the people be going crazy now if, like, the implication is that they weren't going crazy previously because the established members of the organized crime family would keep them in check. So it's like that adage about how it's like, you know, the street that the mob boss lives on is always the nicest, quietest street in town. Like, nothing goes down on that street because it's protected. So it's kind of the same assumption about this entire, let's just say it's Williamsburg. Let's just say Williamsburg is under protection of the Nucci's. And as soon as 5 members of the Nucci family are taken out, everybody else loses their fucking minds. And I just think that all of the other ranks and lieutenants and all the things that we've ever seen in any other crime thing, including the other seasons of The Punisher, I I just think that those people would still be around. Like, there's an order of succession for a reason. Like, if the top 5 people got killed, the other people who are lower in the ranks just move up.
That's the thing is, like, have we seen this before? Was this in Daredevil or was this in the Punisher show?
I wanted to ask that too. When does this take place? Because I do not think the Nucci's have been mentioned before.
I don't think so. I mean, it's a familiar. I feel like that is like a comic book, mobster name associated with the Punisher.
Sure. I don't think we've seen them in a show.
I don't remember if I've seen them in the show. I find it hard to believe that the Punisher's MO wouldn't be to kill every single member of this mob family. The idea of him just driving by and shooting like the 3 guys outside and leaving doesn't seem like the Punisher's MO to me. Honestly, him going to the limo, pulling the son out, shooting him and not killing Ma, that doesn't really sound like the Punisher to me either. I know we want him to be a good guy, but I think in the comics, I don't know if he cares about about saving women, or I think there's been instances in the comics where he does kill children if they're not children, but like teenagers. I mean, if they're violent, if they're like, because I was Googling this after, and there are different interpretations where he does weird stuff. And I do want to talk about his relationship with his family and his like him being a father and all of that too. But I find it hard to believe that he's like, this is the mob that killed my family. I'm going to kill her 5 sons and just walk away after that. I think the Punisher goes in and kills everybody, even if he leaves Ma alive. Who is this bodyguard she's got? Yeah. Why wouldn't the Punisher kill that guy? Kill that guy, kill the driver, kill everybody.
It's wild. Because
that's who he is.
Right. Like the character, I think this is the moment. I think this is meant to be basically the moment that bridges him starting with the specific goal of avenging just the people who were directly involved, like just the named cast members that were involved in the killing of his own family. And then I think this special is meant to be the thing that turns the tide to him just being like, well, now it's anyone who commits a crime is now like fair game for the Punisher. But I think your description does a better job of that. Like your pitch for him seeing his family in the people he's saving. And like, obviously he does metaphorically in this, but if we're going to do the visions, and this definitely needs some punching up so we can get to the action faster. Like, I think that's a more concise way to hammer that home.
Yeah. And I mean, the family stuff's weird too, man, because he goes to the cemetery like 3 times. Yeah. I think maybe it's only twice, but he sits there for a long time. And again, I'm like, I think John's probably like, I want to do a thing where he's talking to his wife. And it's like, we could do this without he doesn't need to go to the cemetery. He definitely doesn't need to go back to the cemetery.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping there would be like a John Wick thing where he like the gravestone has like a key in it or something, or he buried a gun there, like so something sick. Like that, where he like, I was hoping there'd be some moment there because he has this key, he locks up all of his stuff and then he buries it. And then I guess at the very end, he picks it up and then he unlocks his stuff, but that was in his apartment that blew up. So I don't know why. I don't know how it's still around anyway. But I guess he does go there and pick up the key and become the Punisher again. It just didn't feel very dramatic to me. I was also trying to Google a lot of like, is the Punisher character a good dad? Was he a good family man? And in this, I think his relationship with his family is fascinating because this version of the Punisher for sure is a soldier. He's a military guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not convinced that he is comfortable at home. You know, he's a soldier, he's a warrior, he goes to war, and that's the environment that makes sense to him. And there's been tons of war stories and war movies. And I mean, this really happens where people come back and their life was threatened constantly. And now they're back with their family and they don't know how to function. They don't know how to function outside of wartime.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that he actually leaves. He wants to go back because he understands that. And he probably loves his family, but isn't like a great dad, you know, like he's not throwing birthday parties for his kids. I don't know if he's putting like a thoughtful date night together for his wife. I think he loves them in like a visceral, like primal way. But I don't know. Does he know his daughter's like favorite colors or something? Maybe. I mean, he knows this book. He has this book that he read to her, but there's no way he was reading that to her by the age she died. Right. So that's like an early memory. So she's a little kid. Yeah. He's reading this kid's book to her. So it seems like there's some arrested development in his view of his own family. Like he's kind of created these caricatures of the family and kind of put so much into it when I'm not necessarily sure he was like that close to it. And maybe that's kind of the drama too, is that he's lost this thing that he was never really able to connect with in the first place. And now he'll never have that chance. Mm-hmm. And I guess I just feel like this is kind of touching on things that I wish they would go deeper in and kind of twist a little bit more and present as a more complicated relationship than just he loved his family was killed and he got revenge, because I think it is more complicated than that for the Punisher. I think it is.
Yeah. Like I took it for granted. I didn't know what I had and now they're gone. So now I'm, at the very least, the best way that I can honor their memory is to use the skills that I honed while not being there for them to avenge them. I think that's compelling.
Like I don't know how to be a dad. I've been deployed like 3 times and I come back and I don't know who these kids are that grew up without me. Like how do I show them I care? How do I connect with them? Am I able to? Actually, maybe I'm going to go back to war again because that makes more sense to me than being home with my family and all that stuff. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't love them and doesn't care about them, but maybe he can't show it. And maybe there's like some other disconnect. And I feel like they're alluding to that because they have the flashbacks and then she's like, why are you leaving again? What's all this stuff? Like, I feel like him and his wife argued probably a lot. They probably fought a lot. And I don't think we really see that. It's just kind of this lovey-dovey thing. And I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. I think in the comic books, I don't think there's really too much of a complicated relationship there. But from what we're seeing here and how they're really investing in like his PTSD and like Soldier returning from war, coming to grips with that, I think the family relationship could be a lot more nuanced and complicated and interesting than it is. We could dive into that instead of sitting at the cemetery again or spending 20 minutes talking to your old soldier buddies, which I don't know why we need that either. It's just, it was just a little disappointing. It was a little disappointing. And I want him in the Punisher costume.
I love that read a lot. I think so. I want to talk about the Punisher costume and the Punisher overall as a character, because I really think that this is just an absolute slam dunk of a character. Like when you talk about it, it's conceptually, it is so simple. In the same way, I think it's even more simple than Batman, because why does Batman dress like a bat? Like you have to kind of explain that. The Punisher, the name, the concept, and what he looks like are all right there for you. His morality is very black and white. He literally wears black and white. What does he do? Kill people. What is his costume? A big fucking skull. It's a big white skull on a big black costume. His motivation, he's called the Punisher. He punishes people. He plays by his own moral code and he harms those that do harm. Like what's interesting about this as a concept is like obviously it's like hyperbolic. Like obviously this is something that is playing in a world again of black and white morals, and we live in a gray area world. But that's what makes this interesting, is people's different takes about the degree to which this guy is right. And everybody has a different opinion on like how far they are willing to support the ideas that this guy is fighting for, which I think is inherently interesting. Like I'm fascinated by where people draw boundaries with anything in their life, like their morals, their faith, anything. I love it. It's so interesting to me because everyone draws lines in different ways. And I think a lot of times we're not aware of the lines that we're drawing and how and when we draw them where we do. So to have somebody who has like an absolute, like hardline moral stance is always going to be interesting to like dig into. And I mean, do you agree? Do you think that this is like a true, like, I don't know. I really genuinely believe this is kind of weirdly like an important media character that doesn't get the respect that it deserves.
I'm not sure how it fits in like the MCU and like everything else they've got. Like,
oh, sure.
But I think that's
weird.
That's kind of the Punisher's MO, is that he is like an immovable object. He is a contradictory opinion to everything else. He is like, I guess the MCU doesn't really have a no kill rule, but Captain America is like a noble guy. I mean, I was reading back this like thing. I think during Civil War, Captain America recruited bad guys to help them fight. And then the Punisher shows up. He sees the bad guys. He kills all of them. He's like, they're bad. And then Captain America beats the shit out of him because he just murdered these people that were there to help them. And
the conversation that happens on the sideline there is my favorite moment, where I forget who it is talking
Same
about
soldier, different war.
Exactly. Fascinating.
It's fascinating. I mean, Captain America was in World War II, and the Punisher was initially in Vietnam.
Yep.
And then they retconned it to be like just a more ambiguous thing so he could age. Those are very different conflicts, very different results, very different approaches to them. And I think historically we also look back on World War II as us being heroic and idealistic, and they come out as America's number one, and we've got all this kind of like Captain America fits with that. And Vietnam was kind of a mess, and we've got this guy who comes back broken and unsolved, and it's much more violent than we intended, and it's like people are on the ground and there's just this gruesome hand-to-hand like violence happening, and it makes sense. These are like two different guys. The other comparison I saw online, which is like one of my favorite like Batman moments from like the cartoon, like the Justice League cartoon, is him. Somebody has the line like, if you can't picture Batman comforting a child, then it's not Batman. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, Batman's motivation is his parents were killed. He doesn't want anyone else to go through that. So he does have a soft spot for kids. He like adopts kids. He mentors them. He cares about the orphanage. He donates to all this stuff. So there is an undercurrent of him wanting to take care of kids. And I was reading this. There is like a Punisher arc or whatever where Nick Fury sends him on a mission. The mission happens to include a little girl who is not the goal of the mission, but Frank basically bails on the whole mission to save this girl. And then it turns out Nick Fury knew he was going to do that because that's the kind of guy he is. So I think there is something of like Frank Castle has a strong sense of justice. And I think that kind of relationship fits in with what I was thinking about with his family, where he's like, he would die to protect an innocent kid.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd know how to like comfort them after or like talk to them, or he'd hold their hand. I think it would be awkward. And I think like in movies and media, we see that a lot where it's like the guy's like, I don't know how to talk to kids. And then by the end, the girl's holding his hand and smiling up. Like even in this, it's like girl gives him a flower and hugs his leg. I'm not 100% sure that happens to the Punisher that much. I think he probably saves a kid that the kid's still scared of him. Maybe I need to just like read more Punisher, but I just feel like this MCU one is it's neutered in a way that is like unsatisfying. Like it's edgy and cool for the MCU, but it still feels like it's like a little short of like the real conviction of the comics. Punisher.
I mean, he's about to be in a movie with Spider-Man. There's no way he's not super neutered in that. And like, I'm not even saying that I want him to be as extreme as he is in the comics. They've done some absolutely wild shit with this character in the comics. I won't put 10 toes down saying like, I love everything they've ever done with him.
That's a good point.
Like, I just think conceptually, regardless of any of the actual application of the character, what really shines about a lot of these things is the concept that comes through. And generally speaking, what they've done a really good job with in the MCU, what Kevin Feige's done a great job with, is taking 80 years of Marvel Comics history and finding the most character-driven nuggets of every character and going there. Like you can even see it in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which I don't think we're going to cover on the show. And I won't spoil for anyone, but I will say that there is one courtroom episode. And surprise, just like in the original Daredevil series, the courtroom episode is the best episode, because what's fascinating about Daredevil is that he is working both within and outside of the boundaries of the law. So like he has the ability to find out answers to questions that he has in the courtroom. And then he has to find a creative way to bring that information into the courtroom so he can actually use it in the way that he should. He's doing things the right way by doing things the wrong way. That's amazing.
Yes,
like you just have to find that one engine that makes the character tick. And unfortunately, I think we live in a world where like the MCU, there's no way they're going to let the Punisher go that extreme as like you saw like the Thomas Jane Punisher, right?
Yes. Or the what's the one with the Warzone, Punisher Warzone? That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, he's just like blowing people up. And it's great. He's cutting people's heads off. It's just honestly, I mean, that's crazy. And I don't know if we're going to get to that, but the Surf Dracula element of this is that the last 30 seconds of this movie, I'm like, that's the Punisher. Where was that guy? I want to see that, where he just like we see like a skinhead who like murdered a homeless man's dog. And then he threatens to kill the guy, and then the homeless guy's like, that's not all he took from me, and no more community. There's no follow-up questions from the Punisher.
Nothing.
He can just tell that this guy was an asshole to the homeless guy. He's deeply disturbed by it. Maybe he doesn't even care. He's just like, oh, this is a bad guy. Like, the homeless man watched him threaten and punish this guy, and the homeless man is still like, that's not enough. And the Punisher just shoots him in the face in broad daylight in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. And the homeless guy, the unhoused guy on the street is like bloodthirsty. He wants revenge.
He
desperately
wants
this. And that guy killed his dog.
You can tell he is a piece of shit. Like, Ding Dong Dude is like, this guy is like an actual public menace. Like,
yeah, but I think in these situations, people want revenge. They want bloody revenge. They want action. And this guy is like, you took my dog, you deserve to die. Yeah. And the Punisher's like, I'm going to give that to you.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of, there's like no other superheroes that do that. Spider-Man wouldn't do that.
No.
If somebody, you know, if he caught a burglar and the guy was like, he killed my husband, it's like, you know, he's chaining him up and waiting for the cops. He's webbing him up. He's not going to kill this guy. Spider-Man doesn't kill. Like, I think that's what's going to make potentially this movie very fun, is Spider-Man and the Punisher together. Those are head-butting characters. They do not vibe at all.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of guns getting webbed up. It was already in the trailer. We are going to see a lot of webs going, a lot of guns. I was thinking about the Ding Dong guy scene in the end too, where Punisher ends up killing the guy. And what's fascinating is, obviously, because of the structure of the episode, we've seen Ding Dong guy be horrifying. And like, I would be so scared to be on the street if that guy was there too. But you know what? I would also be fucking terrified if the Punisher was there. Like, if you think about this from being on the ground with both of those people, you see this Punisher guy walking around armed to the fucking teeth, already terrifying. And then you know that this guy is pulling triggers based on his own set of morals that you as a citizen don't know. I would be so scared to, I don't know, like look like I'd done something wrong. Like, you can't, in the real world, you can't ever trust that somebody's morals are going to be that good. It's part of the problem with, like, you know, arming people to the degree that we have anyway. There's a lot of trust that I don't have in people anymore.
I think that's why the Punisher is like a hero, though. That's why he's a fictional superhero.
Oh, well, yeah.
Is because at the end of the day, he's not, his methods are probably extreme, but he does have a moral compass that I think we can all agree with his moral compass, except to the extent that he takes it.
Yeah.
But like, him and Daredevil look at the same person. They're like, well, this guy's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And Daredevil's like, oh, he deserves to be in prison. And Frank's like, well, we should just kill him. Like, they're like, the Punisher's doling out the death penalty to everybody who crosses him. Whereas like other superheroes are like, you know, but the Punisher never really kills anybody. And he's not killing anybody innocent. He's defending innocent people. I think that guy who, you know, saw him avenge the dog is like, I'm here with the Punisher. Whatever the Punisher wants, I'm down. Like, I got this guy. He's a strong sense of justice. He's taking into his hands. And because he's a superhero, we can trust him. But yeah, I mean, I think there is like, that's when people try to apply the Punisher to real life, it's complicated. It gets so complicated so fast because you're right. Everyone is their own individual, and it's impossible for multiple Punishers to be going around and have the same goals and the same mindset and the same compass, you know, in the real world. Like, everyone has different opinions on stuff. You know, if you get a conservative Punisher and a liberal Punisher, they'd kill everybody. You know, that is not a. That's not a Venn diagram. That's two separate circles, you know, like that is like, they're just going to be pointing in different directions. So then it's like, okay, then who is justice? But in comics, there's this, you know, there's this good versus evil. There's always like a black and white element underneath it. I think this is a good guy. This is a bad guy. And then it's to different degrees.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, we don't need to go into a full deep dive. If you want to hear Tim and I talk about policing in America, you can tune into our Daredevil Born Again episode from last year.
Listen back to that.
But I will say that, I mean, obviously it's inherently ironic to see any kind of law enforcement with like a Punisher bumper sticker on it. And it's like, as soon as I see that, it's like, you don't get this at all, because this is a symbol of somebody who is not following due process and is not bound by the constraints of the law. being bandied about by somebody who is supposed to be on paper, a literal manifestation of like upholding due process and law enforcement. And it's like, seeing that sticker, it's a massive red flag just because it's like, oh, okay, cool. So you are telling me that your sensibilities are to ignore all of your responsibilities. This is great. This is great.
Yeah, I really don't think anyone in a position of power should be using the Punisher thing. If it's a red flag, if you see any cops with the Punisher thing, if you see any politicians with the Punisher thing, no. I mean, if it's like an average person, it's maybe you're looking at it as like sticking it to the man. But when you are the man, that's who the Punisher is against, right? Like, really, it's like if the police had done their job and gotten everybody off and like arrested everyone involved in this death, the Punisher wouldn't need to exist. Right. Like maybe he would need to kill them additionally, but it's going to be harder to kill them when they're all in jail. You know,
that's also like assuming a lot of things. Among them is like a utopian society where the entire justice system functions exactly as it's supposed to. There's no money involved. The's no corruption.
Right.
You know,
so he's cutting through the red tape. He's cutting through the corruption. Yeah. I mean, I think he's fascinating. I mean, I do also think that the apartment fight was very cool. I thought it looked cool. I think they did fun stuff. I loved seeing him run through these things. I love him taking damage and falling off of shit and being like, oh no. I think that's great. I wish that, we talked about it already, where I wish that could have just been integrated in with all these flashbacks. I kind of hated Ma. She rolls up and starts monologuing and I'm like, who is the, what are they talking? I don't even know what they're saying. They're just kind of rambling. There was no like authority in it. I don't know if it's like, I feel like I hate to be that guy, but it feels like a little bit of a miscasting or something. Like I want someone who can really like lay down the law and have real hate in her heart and like really do this. But it felt kind of like, oh, this random person is monologuing. And then I guess they want it to be a reveal that the Punisher is the one who did all this bad stuff. Yeah. And they don't, like at first you don't know who Ma is. Is she a bad guy? Is she a good guy? Is she asking the Punisher for help? Because I think they kind of frame it like she's asking for help. And then it's revealed that she's actually going to get him. Yeah. And I don't know if I needed that. I kind of like it better if she shows up and is mean. I kind of prefer like a John Wick villain where it's like, you killed my son. I know that I have to avenge him. I would love to let you go. I have to avenge him because you killed my family. Mm-hmm. And I would love for us to both walk away, but that's just not possible. And I'm probably signing my own death warrant, but I'm taking you down with me, but instead this woman shows up and she's like, my beautiful boys who never did anything wrong. And it's like, you're a mob leader. You're a mob leader. You know, they do wrong stuff. You know, you're a bad guy. You know, your sons are bad guys. It's cool to be like, well, he was sweet to me and he loved his mom and all this stuff, but to show up and then act like you are completely like, you guys are just innocent bystanders and all this is crazy. And I don't think that's how a mobster talks.
No, it's really, it was really weird.
Mafia's a business.
I thought this could have been a phone call. It was like, I'm picturing this being like a situation where, we start again in media res. Maybe we open on like somebody pounding on Frank's door and like we literally just start with him looking through the people and seeing those guys looking around. He gets a phone call, picks it up. It's her explaining what's going down. The guys bust through the door. We take it from there. Like, maybe she calls them at 6:46 or whatever. I think it's like 6:47 when all the shit hit the fan. And it's like, it didn't hit for me either.
I also think like, it's confusing that she's in a wheelchair. It's confusing because of the context. I'm all for other representation of like, I think we could definitely have more, handicapable people in movies and stuff, and just have there's a lot of characters that could just be in a wheelchair. When she rolls up and is saying, you killed my entire family and attacked us, I'm picturing like the Punisher put her in the chair. But then we cut to the limo and she has a wheelchair in the limo. Like she's already in a wheelchair. And then he takes the sons. So that's the part where I'm just like, this is just a little too confusing, It'd be easier to put.
I didn't mind that. I mean, personally,
I think part of me was disappointed that he didn't put her in the wheelchair. Like I kind of wish he tried to kill her and she survived. Like that was kind of my hope when I saw the wheelchair.
I see.
And then to just have that be, no, this is like a pre-existing injury. It's just kind of like writing it off. Like how much, like it's so much more characterization if she shows up like horribly scarred or like having survived an ordeal with the Punisher. But instead she shows up in a wheelchair, but that's a pre-existing condition and it's not related to the thing. Like just the context made it disappointing to me. But whatever.
Yeah.
I can't complain about somebody, wheelchair representation or whatever. But in that context, I found it confusing.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think it was more about like framing it so she's like again in the representation, like she's still like a powerful figure despite. And
like her mind is the powerful thing.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah. And just kind of, again, like to your point of like anybody, like characters can just kind of be in a wheelchair. Like
they totally can. Thing. I just, if they're talking to the Punisher, I'd like to think that the Punisher did it. That's my context for this. Listen, she's talking to Spider-Man. I'm like, Spider-Man didn't do this. No problem.
Like, I get the feeling that this was from some kind of like a degenerative disease. So I don't think that's kind of the Punisher's MO.
Yeah, that would be another level of the Punisher. Oh,
he's not in the lab.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Well, we are out of time. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back here again in 2 weeks with something. We'll see you then. Until then, stay nerdy, everybody.
Stay nerdy.
Bye.
Bye.